You're listening to the NAMAD Sessions by Mia, live from the NAMAD Annual Membership Meeting 2025.
Well, welcome back again. This is Errol Bomar with More Than Cars, and we are here with another episode of NAMAD Sessions brought to you by Mia. We're excited to be here at NAMAD, and I'd like to welcome up our next guest who actually had a chance to grace our small stage as well. So I'm excited to have him and be able to sit down one-on-one and maybe dig in a little bit deeper with some more questions. Gerrick, welcome. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. It's so good to be in Vegas. It's a great venue to be at for NAMAD this year. It's been a lot of fun.
That's it. I'm loving it. Now, is this your first NAMAD?
It is, yes.
Okay.
I've done tons of automotive conventions and functions, but this is my first NAMAD, and it definitely won't be my last.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear it. You heard it. So when you see him, you'll see him again next year, right? We're excited about that. So do me a favor, for those that don't know you out there or maybe didn't have a chance to see you on the small stage, tell us a little bit more about who you are, how you got into the industry, and then what you're doing currently.
Sure. So I'm the CEO of Omega Advisors. We are a buy-sell firm. We help dealerships grow through acquisition. We advise on valuations. And so for all practical purposes, I sell cars. I just sell them all at one time and include the land and the building and everything else. But what is unique is I'm actually a former dealer. I worked on the retail side for over 20 years. As general manager, was partnered with a group in Alabama, and and now I'm here helping dealerships grow. So I love the business. I can't think of anything better to do. I have dabbled in the political side, and can tell you I don't recommend jumping into that. It's much better to be in automotive for sure.
Absolutely, I love that. So let me ask you, with your experience of transitioning from being a dealer to what you're doing right now, is there a lot of parallelisms or similarities of things you see and common challenges, so to speak?
Sure, there absolutely is. And I think a lot of what we do is trying to figure out what a dealership's performance is going to be like, because that's going to determine future values. And since I ran stores for so long, it's a lot easier for me to go and look at a financial statement and see opportunities in fixed operations, or where they're struggling in newer used cars, or in some cases where they're overperforming and how that can impact values, and what can really be the true strength of an acquisition for our clients. We'll work on a buy-side engagement, which is what I prefer to do. We'll also work on a sell-side engagement. We just won't work both sides on the same transaction for obvious reasons.
For obvious reasons, right? That makes sense. That's great. And then what are you seeing with, kind of being immersed in this world now and kind of moving forward? What are some things that you're seeing when dealers are talking and maybe common blind spots or things that they don't consider before you are able to come in and advise them?
Sure. A lot of times it comes around, the conversation centered around capital requirements, because It's unfortunate. It takes so much money to buy a store. It's actually very difficult to get the first store. It's easier to get your third or your fourth or your fifth at that point. So as we're able to talk through ways to structure a deal in a way that's going to be beneficial for the buyer, because the last thing we want to do is see someone get over leveraged and it not work out for them. That's like a worst case scenario. Is you go and buy a dealership and then 3 years later they're struggling and can't make it, because we want everyone to be successful, because ideally I want to sell them the third, the fourth, or the fifth store down the road.
Absolutely.
Or help them with a strategy for a disposition and an exit plan, 10, 20 years down the road.
Right, and you're absolutely correct. And I think you mentioned a great point, right? That looking to the future, the 10 to 20 years down the road. What about have you seen with like legacy, dealers or dealerships or family owned? Because I know a lot of times, especially in this industry, you'll see where, a dealership might get passed down or go through family. Are you working with folks that are kind of going through that transition as well?
Sure, we talk through that with them. It's one of the things we do with valuations, because it becomes challenging when they look at transferring that ownership, because there are tax consequences for it. It's not like you can just give the store to your kids.
Can't just write an IOU and here you go.
Unfortunately, the IRS wants to know what that store's valued at, and they want to make sure they can collect their money if they can. And in some cases, if the group is too large or the business is too large, that causes other issues, and it almost becomes too difficult. And now the other thing that we see, though, is a lot of times the next generation of dealers is actually more aggressive than the current generation. And they're looking at not just taking those 2-3 stores that they have now, they're looking at how can we amplify, how can we grow to 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 stores. So it's fun to see that growth and have those conversations with people. There's nothing better than helping someone get their first store, their fifth store, or see that growth pattern out there. It's a great experience to have.
That's awesome. Now, what about continuing to kind of like maybe look future forward? What are some things that you're excited about that you're seeing, or maybe some trends that you're looking to say, hey, this is going to help or even advance our business even further?
Sure. Well, you look back at the COVID years, which we all talk about the challenges.
He dropped the C word.
The challenges that we had there. But at the same time, it really focused and helped us innovate in a lot of areas.
Absolutely.
We're definitely see technology come into play more in the dealerships. There's no question AI is going to continue to impact how things go forward, because dealers, I think, are going to become more efficient. I was even talking with a dealer that was talking about how AI has been helping him with compliance issues, and all of these things are going to come into play. The other question still comes in, how is Amazon and some of these other entrances going to work through it? And again, I think it's going to be big opportunities. Dealers have always innovated, they've always adapted, and I think we're going to see a little bit consolidation. We'll probably have fewer dealers out there in the coming years, but I think they're going to be stronger and more robust.
Yeah. And do you think that the direct-to-consumer platform is going to be the reason for the shrinkage in the market, or just other factors that go into it as well?
I think there's other factors. Fortunately, most of our states have protections in place for our dealers, so that direct-to-consumer model is not going to be as prevalent because of the dealer associations have done such a good job in protecting our dealers.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of times when we talk about this direct-to-consumer that people realize what a bad idea it is.
Yeah.
The dealers are so engaged in their communities, what they do from a philanthropic standpoint. You don't see Tesla out there sponsoring the Little League baseball team like your hometown dealer does.
Right. Very, very true. And it is, and because I think that's one thing that you think about the upfront, but you don't necessarily consider all of the back end ramifications, like you mentioned, with the philanthropic, or just even having a place to go. Like sometimes people, if they have run into an issue, or I've seen dealerships that just simply have a technology day, like, well, hey, maybe you brought a new car and you've got questions about the technology in it, bring it here and we'll help you for the day. So there are intricate pieces that you just can't replace in that dealership portfolio.
There's nothing better than the franchised automotive dealer. In fact, just yesterday, my daughter was texting me while I was on a flight here to Las Vegas and said, "Dad, I'm having issues with my Honda. The battery's dead."
Oh, okay.
And I say, "Hey, call such and such Honda dealer." And lo and behold, a few hours later, they had picked up her car, they had her battery handled for her, and everything was good to go. And you just don't see that on some of the larger groups out there that are direct to consumer. They just don't have that customer focus like the hometown dealer does.
Absolutely. It'd be more so like, hey, here's a number, we'll get to you in a week, we'll come out, so you're absolutely correct. And I think that's great to have that support system. So, and then what about when you're talking about you and what sets you guys apart? What are some key areas if somebody has questions or is looking like, yeah, okay, I understand, I need that advisor on hand and I want to get educated? What sets you guys apart from everyone else in your opinion?
I appreciate you asking that, because again, there's even here several buy-sell firms that are at this event, and there's a lot of great professionals out there in our industry. The big difference between us and a lot of the other firms is our firm is made up of dealers. Okay. And we're dealers that understand what it's like to be in the trenches. We've been on the showroom floor. We've been in the service drive. We know what that's like. And at the same time, we also have the expertise with the MBAs and the JDs in our team to bring that expertise to you. But we also know what it's like to be a dealer. And I think the fact that our team is made up primarily of former dealers is the big advantage that we have.
Absolutely. You get a whole different perspective if you've ever been in a place where you broom cars in the middle of the winter.
That's right.
And had to plow a lot, or all the fun stuff that goes on with it.
I've been fortunate to be in the South, so I have not had to get rid of too much snow on the cars.
No, I mean, it's not so much anymore. Now they've got, it's funny because I spent 5 years in the car industry from a sales perspective standpoint. Sure. Obviously, I'm still in the industry today, but just from a strictly sales standpoint. And that when you had, and I'm from Detroit, so you get those winters where 4 days in a row, we're out there brooming and plowing a lot 4 days in a row, and you're thinking like, wait a minute, So, but to the point of having that knowledge, it is really impactful to be able to have a level-headed, clear conversation when someone has questions because you're speaking from a level of experience. So I think that's great.
Absolutely, and it also allows us to go further than what the financials tell in looking at and analyzing a deal. Because again, we're able to say, okay, where are the real opportunities? Because at the end of the day, you're buying a dealership for future revenue, for future streams of a cash flow. And there are ways that you can help increase that, because ideally when you buy a store, your expectation is you're going to make more money than it was, not less money.
Yeah.
And unfortunately that's not always the case.
Yeah.
And it's important to be able to have those direct conversations so you can know what it's like.
Absolutely, that's great. Now, before we wrap up, please do me a favor, let folks out there that are watching.
Starting on the main stage with Podium right now, 2:15 in the main room. So if you want to make your way in there to hear the next workshop from Podium.
So getting back, go ahead and tell everybody out there that's watching where they can find you if they want to get connected with you or have questions or maybe want to look at hiring you for services. How can they find you guys?
Absolutely. Well, if you're at NAMAD today, please stop by our booth. It's Omega Advisors. You can also find us online, Omega Advisors. We're on LinkedIn and all the social media platforms. Or feel free to just shoot me a text or call. I'm always happy to share my number. It's 205-527-8218. All the contact information is online. But I appreciate the time and look forward to being able to talk more. It's always fun.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time and being here. Really appreciate it. And thank you all for tuning in and watching us. We are here. I'm Errol Bomar. This is More Than Cars. And this is our NAMAD Sessions brought to you by Mia. And we will definitely look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care, folks.
Thank you for listening to this NAMAD session brought to you by Mia. At More Than Cars, we're obsessed with uniting people around one big idea, that thriving people are the only path to a thriving and profitable industry. And if that resonates with you, head over to morethancars.com to join our email list and check out our full list of podcasts and programming.